This morning we had Nobby Clark on as a result of the government announcing that there was going to be making the announcement as to who was going to be the new Crown Observer for Wellington, where all things seem to be happening at the moment. And he said, yeah, he's did a good job, he'll be fine, and gave us idea of what a Crown Observer is and does, and says it's good having that lens across the line. Interested to see if the same reaction comes from Wellington. And we have Tony Randle to join us now. Our letter from Wellington, Councillor Tony Randle. Tony, you've caught up now with the fact that you've not only got an observer, but who it is. What's your view?
Well, of course, as soon as I heard the name, we tried to check him out, and he sounds like a reasonably sound sort of guy with a fair bit of experience and some financial knowledge. So I'm really optimistic. Yeah,
well, there you are. Well, that's a good place to be, isn't it? Because you haven't been optimistic for a long time.
I haven't
been. Listen, the other thing he's going to do is he's going to report every month, I think, to the minister to the minister on how you're going. And Nobby, in actual fact, when I interviewed him today, he said, well, you've still got your problem, and that is you can't make your long-term plan financially work. So you've got to address that. Are you making any progress on that at all?
We are. I mean, it's in fact the new Crown Observer is going to really have to hit the ground running, because we are having our key workshops this afternoon before he arrives, and tomorrow morning, literally when he arrives. And we're going to make the key decisions on the long-term plan on the 21st. Which
of
is
November.
Like Thursday week. So, I mean, reporting in a month, he needs to be reporting weekly, probably, because we are in the process of trying to work out which projects to cut to re-establish our emergency funding. And that happens very, very quickly. It's almost too late in a way.
Can you just explain something to me, first of all, because I'm confused? You're doing the long-term plan, but that includes the annual plan for what? 2024, 2025, is that right?
We're doing the annual plan for 2025, 26.
Right.
So the plan before the year.
So your long-term plan is for next year. You're not doing it this year for 24, 25 year. You're doing it from 25, 26 for the next 10 years, yeah?
Yes. Well, yes, but we're doing a long-term plan amendment. We did the long-term plan on the basis that we're going to sell our airport shares, and that was going to be the emergency money for the city. And we didn't sell the emergency shares. We changed our minds, and so we've got to redo the long-term plan to find the emergency money again, which is why we're cutting projects.
Can I ask, is this a draft plan that you're doing? So once you've decided what you're going to do you then put that out to the public for consultation?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
And it's a big onerous process, which is why the decisions have to be made way in advance, because there's all sorts of cross-checking and audits and it's a painful process.
Yes, it is. It's a ridiculous process, and the government doesn't do it, so why should you? But there you go. So just take me through this again. On the 21st of November, you decide what the draft plan's going to be, and then you go and consult with the public. And after you've got Uncle Tom Cobley and all saying what they think, you then make your final decision, sometime March, April, May next year?
Yes. On the 21st, we make the key decisions on what the projects that might be cut will be. And these are projects such as community facilities, the Golden Mile, how much we spent on housing, the Zero Waste program. Which of these projects are going to be on the table for being cut. On the 12th of December, the final council meeting confirms. Then the officers go away and they package it up in a consultation document. And we confirm that document on the 12th. And then when we get back in February, the consultation starts. And we're into that normal cycle of listening to people, taking submissions. But the decisions on what we're putting to the public are being made very fast and very soon.
Okay.
Now, you also talked about saying, how are we doing? The mayor's come out with her own list. Notably, it doesn't include her projects on the list, and which is very disappointing. She's supposed to be leading this, and she's not really leading it. She's sort of doing, she's putting forward what she would propose to be cut. But other councillors are talking to each other, which is good, and we're trying to work out whether there's a consensus on some of these other big projects which really shouldn't go ahead, at least in my opinion. And so hopefully all of the projects will be on the table and the public can choose.
Yes, well, that would make a lot of sense. You could even have a referendum on it, I would have thought. You've got plenty of time. Listen, the other thing that strikes me as odd is that, as you say, Tory whānau has decided that there are a series of inviolable things that she's intending to do, irrespective of your financial situation. She's one person. Does she have support from other councillors for those inviolate projects?
I think for the Golden Mile projects, I think there's a lot of other councillors who recognise the public is no longer for it. I mean, I think there is a core green base that wants to urbanise and make Wellington like Copenhagen or something or other, but most people just want the basics done, and most councillors are very concerned about the prioritisation of cutting, saying that community projects like the Kilburnie skate park or something like that, these suburban projects, that they are lower priority than, say, the Golden Mile, when quite clearly the community has been waiting a long time for these, and I would say most councillors would balk at cutting the projects in their own suburbs. I mean, they've got an election next year. I'm certainly lobbying for the Granada North Sports Ground. That's for upgrade, that's for sure.
Okay, well, and as you say, you're driven by political considerations as well. Of course you are. I mean, you're not really accountable, although you are theoretically accountable to all of Wellington. At the end of the day, you've been elected out of a ward, so every council will be thinking that too. I hadn't thought about that for a moment. Yes, it's very interesting, Tony. Sort of, you might even ask...
Democracy.
Well, but is democracy better served by having one ward for all of Wellington, and you get 12 people or 15 people elected out of one area, and don't have wards?
Well, you do, but I think it makes you more distant. I mean, we are literally representatives. I mean, in the end, the council was owned by the people of Wellington. And we just represent them, and I think it's right that we, when it comes to the Golden Mile project, I don't think it matters whether you look at it by ward or look at it by the whole city. I think every single ward probably says, no, stuff it, don't do it. It's just not needed.
I've looked also at today, this morning, more housing numbers have come out, real estate prices basically, and all over New Zealand they've dropped, but nowhere has dropped as much as Wellington. I'm interested though, because surely if my value of my house is dropping, and it's just a psychological thing, Tony, not a financial thing necessarily, but if I'm watching the equity in my house disappear, I'm going to be even less prone to the idea that I'm going to have to pay increased rates, aren't I? I don't know, are people making that psychological connection? My house isn't worth as much. I'm sort of trapped here. If I go anywhere else, I'm going to get less money for my bucks. Are people making decisions that, therefore, I want to make sure that everything that's within my cost factor is reduced as a consequence? Do people think like that, or does it have no influence at all?
I think people are looking at the council and they see it as still quite wasteful. I mean, one of the more recent stories that came out was that the council staffing levels have grown 25% in the last 5 years. And I was, talking to one of my constituents, and they say, well, the service isn't 25% better, so what are these guys doing?
What's the answer to that question?
Well, I think we had when we went through the long-term plan back, and we're now going back into sort of April, May this year. It was quite clear the chief executive, the current chief executive, said that a staffing review in this environment, that she wasn't going to look to cut staff. And so that really wasn't part of the long-term plan. And, people are looking at that and saying, no, you've got to look at everybody. Everybody's struggling. I mean, another story in today's paper was just the extent to which the government ministries have had their employment cut. And you've got to look at those numbers and say half of them will be in Wellington. And you've got, departments like Ministry of Environment losing 30%. I mean, these are, so people are struggling. The house prices are falling because people don't really... a lot of people who would buy, first home buyers and such like, young couples who are trying to save, they're not sure about their jobs quite yet if they're working in the government, if you're working in DIA or somewhere.